All right, today we're diving deep into a really powerful concept: winning the war that actually matters, the one happening inside your own mind. We're going to lay out a kind of roadmap to what the source material calls sovereign truth.
And this is really where it all begins. You know that feeling of unease, that constant, low-level anxiety that just hums in the background of your life? Well, the idea here is that it's not a sign you're broken. It's actually a signal flare from your deeper self telling you, hey, something isn't right.
Just sit with that for a second. I'm not talking about literally being chased, of course. I mean that feeling of being pressured, pursued by this invisible force, a system that just doesn't feel right, that doesn't vibe with who you really are, a sense that you're always on the defensive. So if you're someone who's ever been called crazy for seeing patterns that other people miss, if you felt like the whole world is trying to shove you into a box you just don't fit in, this is for you. The core message is this: you're not flawed. It's the first sign that you're starting to wake up. And if that hits home for you, then let's get into what you might be waking up from.
So what is it that we're waking up from? Well, this first part breaks down all those external forces, what's described as an entire architecture built not to lock you up with force, but to completely capture you with distraction.
And this is so crucial to get. Control today isn't about physical chains. It's a silent, non-stop war for your attention. The system's number one weapon isn't brute force. It's a never-ending flood of spectacle and noise, all designed to pull you away from your own center, your own inner truth.
Think about the biggest media firestorms you can remember. According to this view, they aren't just scandals. They're strategic pieces of a much bigger puzzle. Each story just explodes, dominates everything, gets everyone outraged and arguing, all while the real, deeper, systemic problems go completely unnoticed, and the elite networks stay protected.
And what happens when we're exposed to this all the time? It's a pretty wild psychological effect. We can actually develop this unconscious loyalty to the very things that hold us back. It's like a cultural Stockholm syndrome, where we end up defending the system we know, even if it's hurting us, because the alternative, real, raw, unknown freedom, is frankly terrifying.
So this really lays out the two opposing teams in this conflict. On one side, you have the systems worldview. It needs control, it demands conformity, and it's always telling you what you're worth based on external stuff. And on the other side, the sovereign worldview. That's all about liberation, about being authentic, and about you and only you defining your own value from the inside out. This is the war. So if the whole world outside is built for control, where do we even begin to find liberation?
Okay, so we've looked at the external battleground. Now we turn inward. Because according to this whole philosophy, the real fight, the real temple, the real source of power, it's not out there somewhere. It has always been inside you.
And this right here is the spiritual core of the entire thing. It's a direct challenge to the idea of some distant God up in the sky. Instead, it says that the sacred, the divine, the whole show, it's right here. It lives inside your own body, your own consciousness.
Now, to really grasp this idea of an inner temple, you have to see that there are two versions of you. First, there's what's called the legal fiction. That's the paper version of you. Your name on a birth certificate, your social security number, it's the version the system can see and control. But then there's the sovereign self. That's your true essence, your spiritual identity that existed long before any ink ever touched paper. It can't be weaponized and it can't be controlled.
Okay, so this is where the source material gets beautifully poetic and a little esoteric. It describes this internal alchemical process, an inner magic really. It's called the sacred secretion. So in essence starts in the brain, in the cerebrum. It then gets refined by the pineal and pituitary glands, which are symbolically called Joseph and Mary. From this process you get two things, an electrical honey from the pineal and a magnetic milk from the pituitary. And when they come together, they create this powerful internal energy current, your very own personal land flowing with milk and honey.
And all of this, it leads to this one single profound question. If the ultimate divine statement of all existence is simply I am, then who are you to say you are anything less? The idea here is that your will to exist, your power, is hidden in your simple, inherent right to choose. You have the power to declare I am too.
So, how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? This final section is the strategy guide, the actual toolkit for claiming that sovereignty and finally winning this internal war.
Now, this is a complete flip of how we usually think about fighting battles. You don't win by charging headfirst into the chaos of the world. No, the strategy of the victorious warrior is to win first, inside. You build an unshakable fortress inside your own mind, your inner citadel. The victory has to be internal before it can ever be external.
And here is the practical playbook. These are your countermeasures. When those anxious thoughts come up, you don't fight them. You just watch them pass by, like clouds in the sky, giving them zero value. When the world outside gets crazy and chaotic, you retreat to that inner sanctuary you've built. And that feeling of being hunted, you completely reframe it. You're not a victim. You've been chosen. This is an initiation into a higher level of awareness.
This all ties back to a core concept, the eternal development economy. In this model, your attention is the single most valuable currency on the planet. That whole architecture of distraction we talked about, it's designed for one purpose, to mine your attention. So it's simple. When you control your focus, you control your power. You decide where your wealth goes.
And here is the ultimate move, your primary defense. It's called Code 33, Preventative Care. And what is it? It's meditation, but seen as a revolutionary act. When you sit in total stillness, you're not just relaxing or doing nothing. You are actively cutting off the system's supply line. You are starving it of its favorite food, your fear and your attention. You're waging spiritual warfare by being perfectly still.
And this all leads to a final unbending declaration of sovereignty. It's a statement that your inner truth, your light, is as fundamental as the sun itself. It doesn't apologize. It doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. It just is. And that, according to this path, is how you achieve the ultimate victory in the war within.